all over the cities. You can probably see that in towns of Peru or Ecuador, but not in the major cities. You don't see that in Lima or Quito, but you see that in La Paz, for example. You can see the tradition. I mean, the locals, like 70% of the locals, walking around with the traditional clothes in the city, or selling, for example, selling Nike shoes with the traditional clothes, these cholitas, these typical ladies, or selling potatoes in the sidewalk next to the banks. Most of the markets in Bolivia, they still do barter, they exchange products. And most of the markets are only Sundays, because that's where the locals have time to do the exchange or to buy products in the markets. So things are not done for tourism, and that's I would think an advantage in our case, because it's a place to discover. Still is a land to be discovered. Bolivia doesn't have massive tourism. We never had really promotion of the destination, but that's the reality. And that's basically a sort of like introduction of this country, of this destination. One of the other aspects that I would like to describe you is that because we don't have much promotion, or is very unknown, the destination, usually Bolivia is sold together with another countries. It's usually sold together with Peru or with Chile, with the north of Chile nowadays. Traditionally was sold together with Peru, because we share a lake. We share Lake Titicaca, which half of the lake belongs to Peru and the other half is in Bolivia. And La Paz, the major city of Bolivia, is only 1 hour away from Lake Titicaca. Therefore, it is the most natural extension for any Peruvian program is to have Lake Titicaca from Puno into La Paz, Puno, Peru into La Paz. Another way which sells the most nowadays is selling Uyuni salt flats, the picture that you are seeing right now, together with San Pedro de Atacama, the north of Chile. Nowadays, that's very common to provide this combination, the north of Chile with Uyuni, and then into La Paz or into Sucre. So I would say those are the two countries that basically that's the way Bolivia sells, Peru and Chile. No, basically that's another. I would think that if you want your clients to have a real cultural experience in a destination. For example, if you want to sell, I don't know, maybe Asia, you wouldn't send them into Tokyo. You will probably send them to Nepal or to the Tibet. And Bolivia is that. Bolivia is like the Tibet of the Andes. Bolivia is a place where the culture is intact, and that's the place where your clients really can have a strong cultural experience. I would never imagine that a client will be disappointed in Bolivia because it's unknown, but at the same time, once you are here, you realize how different this destination is compared with the rest of South America. Basically, that's about Bolivia. The two most important sites that are sold in Bolivia are Lake Titicaca and Uyuni salt flats. Uyuni salt flats with the north of Chile and Lake Titicaca with Peru. Then we have La Paz. La Paz is the major city of Bolivia. La Paz is, let me have a picture of La Paz, please. Just a minute. Well, this is a map of Lake Titicaca. This is Puno, Peru. This is La Paz, Bolivia. And basically after Cuzco or Machu Picchu, usually 5 hours away, you have Puno by land. Puno is the most important city in Peru next to the lake. And La Paz is the most important city of Bolivia near the lake. And that, the most used service to combine both countries is a catamaran service connecting Puno with La Paz. Is by land. We go all the way to Copacabana, 2 hours by land, then an hour by ship to the island of the Sun. After visiting the island of the Sun, the ships continue sailing to a harbor, which is called Chua. Then it's only 1 hour away to La Paz. So it's a full day program, which is done daily, combining both countries. That's one option. Another option is to spend the night on board, because the cruise ships, they also have cabins to spend the night on board. That's one of the, let me show you. These are the cabins to spend the night on board. I would like to have questions with the buyers, if it's possible. It will be easier that way to talk. Hello, is it possible to have some that the audience can ask questions? Hello?
Yep. We can hear you. Feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I can say them out loud, or just raise your microphone. We have a question from Victor Romero. Can you tell us more about the height at the sea level in Bolivia?
Okay, great.
Thank you, Victor.
Yeah. Well, the marketing that Bolivia had for many years was the highest navigable lake in the world, the highest capital in the world, the highest ski resort in the world, the highest airport in the world. And those that marketing sometimes was not worthwhile for Bolivia, because many people at the end become kind of afraid of going to altitude, no? But for example, Cusco is exactly the same altitude as La Paz, but the marketing for Cusco is never about altitude. The marketing for Cusco is about Sacsayhuamán, about the Incas, about Machu Picchu. And in La Paz, we did a lot of marketing many years ago about the altitude. So the clients, the consumers, sometimes they have that vision that La Paz is very high and they will get sick. Really, they are same altitude as Cusco. So if they can tolerate Cusco, there's no problem with La Paz. It's the same altitude. Lake Titicaca is a little bit higher. Lake Titicaca is like 400 meters higher. It's 3,900 meters above sea level. La Paz is 3,600 meters above sea level, exactly as Cusco, for example. No, so I would think that altitude is not really a problem. It should not be really a problem, no, unless they are gonna go and do like trekking or mountain climbing, that they need to be adjusted to the altitude. But if they are just going to do cultural tourism or leisure tourism, altitude should not be a problem. Sometimes it's psychological, the issue. In our vehicles, for example, we do have oxygen, but we don't show them to the clients right away, because if they see that, they feel, well, I need oxygen, which I think is not, it's more than a real issue. I don't know if I answered the question.
Great. We also have more questions now. So from Christian, can you tell a bit more about the connection flight to get to Bolivia from abroad? How to get there from Europe or from the US?
Great. that's a real problem in Bolivia because there's no much demand. That's why Bolivia is one of the countries where it's the most expensive to get into. Sometimes the volume has the effect that the prices of the air connections are much lower. In Bolivia, there is no much volume into Bolivia. Therefore, the air connections are very minimum. No, I will tell you. For example, we have the Bolivian airline flying daily from Miami into Santa Cruz, which is the hub of Bolivia. You have TACA from Panama, flying twice a day into Santa Cruz as well. You have LATAM flying daily from Lima into La Paz. Also, you have the Bolivian airline BOA flying 5 times a week from Lima into Santa Cruz. And then Bianca also flies daily Bogota into La Paz. And that's about it. A couple of weeks ago, GOL, the Brazilian airline, start flying again Santa Cruz, Sao Paulo. And also the Bolivian airline flies daily to Buenos Aires, to Sao Paulo. I already told you about Lima, Miami. And the only carrier that flies all the way to Europe is Air Europa, that flies daily from Santa Cruz to Madrid. That's about it. There's much connections. That's a little complicated to sell Bolivia. American Airlines used to fly into Santa Cruz, but right before the COVID, the pandemic, they stopped flying. So that's a little complicated, the connections. But then again, Bolivia is sold together with Peru and with Chile. And if you sell Peru, you can add Bolivia as an add-on and then back to Lima. And from Lima, you have a lot of connections overseas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christian. Fiorella has also a question. Are all the Bolivian borders already open?
Yes, they are open nowadays. Land borders and all the only requirement into Bolivia is the vaccination. That's requirement. The PCR requirement was eliminated like 2 weeks ago.
Wonderful. That's where I want to go then. Wonderful. That's great news. Thank you, Fiorella. Victor Romero has another question. Could you say that whoever has visited Cusco it's ready to visit La Paz? Yes.
I think so. I think so because the altitude-wise, no problem. Because, like I'm telling you, is maybe 100 meters difference. I believe Cusco is 3,500 meters above sea level, and La Paz, the center of La Paz, is 3,600 meters above sea level. But most of the hotels in La Paz are situated in the south of La Paz, which is like 300 meters lower than the center. Then again, it's the same altitude. So I think they are ready.
Wonderful. And I also have a question, actually. So you were mentioning that the main cities to connect to Bolivia were La Paz and Santa Cruz. So if you start from Santa Cruz, because that's where your flight took, it's not that you have to fly right away to La Paz. Are there things to do near Santa Cruz first? Experiences or destinations that are there versus, of course, you're going to go to La Paz sooner or later, but of course, yes, not right away, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, the most important advantage for demand for Bolivia, for me, is culture more than nature. If we try to sell the nature of Bolivia, there's a lot of competition unless you are selling Uyuni flats, which is unique. But if you try to sell the jungle, we have 2/3 of Bolivia is jungle, but there's a lot of offer about that. Most of the rivers in Bolivia are not navigable all year round. I am talking about in the jungle. And there's a lot of offer from that same segment in Peru, in Ecuador, in Brazil. So for me, the advantage of this country, of this destination, is the culture. And the culture is usually in the Occident, not in the lowlands. In the Occident, which is the highlands, which is Sucre, Potosí, La Paz, those areas are where the more cultural oriented tourism is located. Most of the arrivals, as you mentioned, are in Santa Cruz. That's the hub, the major airport. Usually there are like 4 or 5 flights a day into La Paz or Cochabamba or Sucre from Santa Cruz. A good way to visit Bolivia will be to go up the altitude slowly. First going into Santa Cruz, which is almost sea level, then go to Sucre, which is the capital of Bolivia, and it's a very interesting city. It was named by UNESCO Humanities Cultural Patrimony. All is white, with preserving all the culture, all the Sucre used to be one of the where the Virrey during the Spanish colony was set. One was in Lima and the other one was in Cuzco, in Sucre. Sorry. So that's why there's a lot of historical monuments, basically colonial monuments. And so spending 2 days or 1 day, one night to 1 day in Sucre will be a good option. And then you can go from Sucre into Potosí, which is only 2 hours by land. 2 hours by land through a paved road. Visit Potosí on the way to Uyuni, which is another 2 hours. So it will be like 4 hours from Sucre into Uyuni. Okay. But you can have lunch on the way. It will be like a full day tour from Sucre into Uyuni. Once you arrive to Uyuni, to the city of Uyuni, which is not on the Salt Flat, but is near the Salt Flat, you can spend the night there. And then you have another day to visit the Salt Flat the next day, and then fly maybe to La Paz. You are already going up the altitude slowly, no? First Santa Cruz, then Sucre, then Potosí by land all the way to Uyuni, and then Uyuni is almost the same altitude as La Paz. And then going into La Paz, and then you can continue your tour into Peru, no? That's one of the most used combinations, which doesn't take too many days. Maybe 1 week, 6 days will be good enough.
Wonderful. I think that's great information with how to build the itinerary, and I think some of the agents here can, see that adding to the clients on if they fly on from Santa Cruz onto Bolivia. That's wonderful. Do we have perhaps more questions?
Let me see.
I'm checking. We don't have any for now.
Yeah. Well, basically, what I wanted to describe you is that this destination is we're in the middle of South America. Therefore, we can be combined with other countries around. The complications are there's not much demand for Bolivia because it's not promoted. But once you can sell it together with another country, then it will be a good asset for your itinerary, because like I told you before, Bolivia is a destination where the culture is very well preserved. No, why McDonald's failed here is because most of Bolivians do not consume that sort of food. There isn't fast food available in the country. Most of Bolivians, they still consume their own food. They have their own religion, their own music, their different language. 70% of Bolivians, they speak different languages. They have the Aymara and Quechua language. And that's quite interesting. It's complicated for Bolivia because we have several Bolivians within. Actually, the name of the country has been changed a few years ago. Now is the plurinational country of Bolivia. It's not a republic anymore. It's plurinational because we have plurinationalities within the country, and most of them are natives, and it's quite interesting. That's why I will focus Bolivia in the cultural offer, which is very authentic. For me, will be one of the slogans of Bolivia that Bolivia had many years ago. It was that where the authentic still exists, because it still exists. It's nothing really made for tourism. That's why the tour operators, sometimes we have to strive to make programs, because there is not much conditions to operate. It's complicated, it's not so easy, but at the end it's very rewarding for the consumer, because it's a destination which is sometimes shocking for the clients because everything is different. Even the clothing, you know, when you walk around in the cities, you see all the people, well, most of the people walking around with the traditional hats, with the traditional clothes. And we are in the major city, cities of 2 million people with a lot of commerce, and most of them are wearing the traditional clothes. That's quite interesting for visitors.
Very cultural, very, very cultural, definitely. So it is a highlight of South America for the culture. There's a lot, it's still alive. It's not like history, it's still alive. You see it on the streets, like you say, from the clothing and from the traditional food. Oh, wonderful, yeah. Well, I think if there's no more questions, we can finalize the session, unless there's anything else. We're glad that there's no PCRs to go into Bolivia, so we're ready to travel and to build itineraries, including Bolivia. Okay. Thank you so much for participating, everybody here. Thank you, Juan, for all the information. I think it's very valuable, and I've learned a lot, and Victor as well learned a lot. I think we all, at least one grain of salt that now we know, and we can promote Bolivia a little bit more.
Thank you to you, and just keep in mind that this destination is ready for visitors, even though we don't have much promotion, and the word of mouth is our only way of being promoted. And but be sure that your clients will be surprised once they are here. They will never get disappointed, because Bolivia is always an adventure. Every day is different. Things are different than other countries. We are the less European destination. If you go to Brazil, to Argentina, to Chile, things are very modern in several ways. Bolivia, no. Bolivia is totally different, and people will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.